Here we are. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
It's Sunday night, and as usual, I'm Fang Xinwei, here with Qing Tian to chat with you about the news. Today.
It's a very important matter.
Yeah, it's really a big deal. I don't know how everyone feels about it. Since last night, I've been watching the news, mainly about Iran and the US rescue operation for a soldier. Rescuing the soldier. What's it called? I don't know what it's called.
We don't know the name yet.
Right?
A hero.
But this is the modern American version, a story about rescuing an American soldier that absolutely surpasses Hollywood.
But this isn't just a soldier. It's a colonel.
Colonels are called soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And it said that Trump didn't sleep all night, right?
Exactly.
Maybe he didn't sleep for 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
As for Trump, his experiences are just impossible for you to... If you try to understand him with common sense, this man is 80 years old. But he's living through experiences like someone in their 20s or 30s.
The key point is, just look at how seriously he takes this matter, right? So he's not resting or sleeping, and that's why some people are spreading rumors, right?
Like what?
Like, why hasn't Trump been seen these past couple of days? Did something happen to him or what?
People are saying things like he was sent to the hospital or that Trump is in critical condition, this and that. These are all things said by anti-Trump people.
Yeah, but in reality, he was trying to save people, right?
He was staying in the White House theater with his main national security team all there and guards posted at the door. No reporters or anyone else were allowed in. He stayed there for 2 days. So indeed, the second pilot was rescued after 2 days. All right, let me quickly go over what we'll be talking about today. First, we'll review the entire rescue operation, covering all the details we currently know. Then, starting tomorrow, what will Trump do next? Okay, and following that, Trump is going to launch a very heavy strike against Iran. What exactly will that entail? Next, we'll discuss a few topics with everyone. The first is, why does the US go to such great lengths, moving mountains and seas, to save one person? This is actually a topic worth exploring. Another thing to discuss is, what exactly has the Chinese state media gotten so worked up about right now? They're saying the Chinese state media has repeatedly claimed that the US military tried to bomb their own pilot to prevent him from falling into Iranian hands.
Oh my, how can they spin it like this?
It's not just one outlet. Most Chinese media are the same. Are there any viewers here who are from mainland China? Have you seen this kind of situation? This is what we've learned so far. Why are they saying this? And thirdly, we all know that Soleimani's niece came to the US, wore a bikini, didn't follow Shia religious rules, partied hard, and ended up being taken away by the police. There's a question here.
She wasn't taken away by the police because of that.
It was because she was anti-American. So why is it that people like those in the CCP or Iran, who always claim in their propaganda that America is morally corrupt, still send their children to the West, to these supposedly morally corrupt Western countries? This is the third topic. The fourth topic is a classic comparison between the United States and Europe. After the Iran war ended, there was a significant potential split between the US and Europe about their direction, right? What exactly are the differences between these two major blocs? And fifth, this afternoon we went to see another performance. Yes, let me tell you all about it. All right, that should roughly prove the situation. First, let me tell everyone about the whole rescue process. To start with, yes, the F-1055E. What does the E stand for? E is for Eagle, also known as the Eagle attack aircraft. The Strike Eagle attack aircraft was shot down during the very early hours of Friday, and then the crew was rescued in the early hours of Sunday morning. So actually, today happens to be Easter Sunday, right? To all of our Christian friends, we wish you a very happy Easter. The plane was shot down at the break of dawn on Good Friday, and the entire rescue operation was completed on Easter Sunday.
So this is also what you might call an Easter surprise, right?
Yes, that's really true. So I think for Trump, he must be extremely happy about this. Okay, let's talk about something else first, a little preview. At 1 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow afternoon, Trump will be holding a press conference in the Oval Office. The White House's X, formerly Twitter account, announced it like this: America's power on full display. Don't miss it.
So our listeners and viewers, don't miss it either. Remember to subscribe to the new, that is Fang Wei Time.
Yes, Fang Wei Time and Xintian Face to Face. We will both bring you the latest reports as soon as possible.
Right?
All right, so it's true. There were two pilots. They were shot down, but both ejected successfully. The first pilot was rescued after 7 hours. Honestly, we really don't know the details right now because before the second pilot was rescued, they didn't want to say anything about what happened before. That's right. The second pilot was rescued after 48 hours. Now, let me share some details with everyone about what actually happened. As everyone knows, and I've mentioned this before, this is called a war, this Eagle attack aircraft. It's a two-seater. The pilot sits in the front, and in the back is what's called the weapons officer. The person in the front flies the plane, and the person in the back operates the weapons. After they were shot down, both of them ejected. Now, let me talk about the second pilot. This second pilot was an Air Force colonel. It's quite rare for a colonel to serve as a weapons officer, so he was probably basically the Air Force commander. After he ejected, he suffered a concussion and was unconscious for 7 or 8 hours. Wow, he was just lying on the ground, and when he woke up, it was already noon, 12 o'clock. He was extremely lucky that he wasn't found and captured by the Iranians. Then he noticed that the place where he was a low-lying area. So if Iranian troops came, and even if the US military came to rescue him later, they would end up surrounded. So staggering, he walked 10 to 12 kilometers on foot and climbed up to the ridge of a high mountain.
Yeah, because the ridge reached up to 7,000 feet at its highest point, right?
Yes, 7,000. Well, it should be 7,000 feet, definitely not 7,000 meters, a height of 7,000 feet. Because you see, if you're on the mountaintop, it's very hard to surround you, right? If they want to encircle you, they'd have to attack uphill. So it's easy for a plane to pick you up from high above, right on the mountaintop. That's the idea.
Yes, they've all been trained for this.
Right?
I saw a very detailed interview with a highly experienced retired brigadier general, and he said that in situations like this, if something happens, he already knows exactly where to go.
Exactly.
The farther away you get from the landing site, the better.
Yes, that's right.
They're trained for this.
And they can't just wander around aimlessly. They have to move with a sense of direction. Of course, all of them carry communication devices to stay in contact with headquarters.
Right, but
they can't turn it on at will.
They have a survival kit, right?
If you use it, the enemy might catch the signal.
Right.
So, what happened next? During this process, though we don't know the exact time, he was taken in by some local Iranians who were willing to help him. Now, the US military has already stated that, as a gesture of gratitude, they will provide any assistance to these people. What they mean is, if you want to come to the United States, we will absolutely bring you over. So then, after he climbed to the top of the mountain, he hid in a crevice between some rocks at the summit. He knew they couldn't come out. This person was very smart. Then, inside that crevice, he activated the emergency beacon signal. Then, in the wild, he used his SEER skills. SEER stands for Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape, to avoid being captured by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. This went on for as long as 48 hours. In the first 7 or 8 hours, he actually fainted. He collapsed on the ground. Then the Iranian side dispatched a large number of Revolutionary Guard troops who rushed to the area. At one point, they got as close as 3 kilometers from him.
Let me add a detail here.
Yeah.
Actually, at the very beginning when he went missing and no one knew whether he was alive or dead, the Americans even had the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, try to confirm his status. They really wanted to make sure. Like, was Iran just making things up over there? Because they needed to confirm whether the information was true, whether he was still there. So, it was Saturday. He was shot down on Friday, and on Saturday morning, after the CIA confirmed the news, President Trump gave the order to carry out the rescue mission. The order was that within 8 hours, the plane had to take off from the United States. In less than 12 hours, they had already entered Iranian territory on the ground.
All right, we'll get to this part in a moment. After a large number of Iran's Revolutionary Guard rushed to the area, they offered a reward, 10 billion reals. What are reals? That's Iran's currency.
That's about 60 grand.
Yeah, that 10 billion is only 60,000.
10 billion.
Due to the effects of inflation, this bubble has already grown to be as tall as a massive skyscraper.
People carry bags and bags of cash just to buy bread.
Yeah, that's how it is. Carrying such a huge bag of cash just to buy a little handful, like a finger-sized piece.
Or a loaf of bread.
Yes. So, what happened next? Do you know how the public responded? Well, it said that a large number of people spontaneously flooded onto the highways and blocked major roads. This prevented the Iranian military from getting through, forcing their operations to slow down. You can actually see this in some of the videos circulating online. There are a lot of street videos showing Iranian troops having to squeeze along the sides of the road to get by. So at the same time, just as you mentioned earlier, the U.S. Special Forces rescue units, including the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment and the Army's Delta Force, which is the Army's Special Operations Unit, so they rushed over, and basically it was dozens of planes carrying several hundred people, dozens of planes and hundreds of people storming in. Their landing point was near the Iran-Kuwait border, about 250 kilometers from Kuwait. You know, Iran and Kuwait actually share a border. Yes, they share a small section of border up in the northern part of the Persian Gulf. And right on that border, there was an abandoned farm. They used this farm as a makeshift airstrip, and then 2 C-130 Hercules planes flew in. Let me show you what the Hercules looks like. This is what it looks like, just like this. It's really big. Such a bulky plane, but what are its features?
Yeah.
So what are the features of this plane? Its main feature is that it can carry a lot of stuff.
Why carry so much?
Because it can even fit helicopters inside its belly, you know?
You see helicopters?
Helicopters fly very slowly, so if they were to fly all the way from Kuwait, they'd be easily attacked. So after loading everything into the Hercules, the people, the equipment, everything, they just fly straight to the border, close to Iraq. It had to land at an abandoned farm about 250 kilometers away. You know what's special about the Hercules? It's specifically designed for short takeoffs and landings on simple runways. Why is that? Because its propellers are especially large. The turboprop engines are especially large, providing strong thrust at low speeds, and its wings are also very wide. So it can take off and land at low speeds and in very short distances. It can operate on short runways, on dirt runways, grass fields, and simple airstrips. It can take off from all of them, so it comes in handy. Yeah, this plane is really useful. The US military loves it and has been using it for 60 years. It came out in 1960 and is still in use today. Anyway, they sent people in, just like you mentioned earlier, and as a result, the search and rescue team ended up in a fierce firefight. So how many people were killed? We don't know yet. According to Iran's state-run defense television, 4 air defense commanders were killed in the clash with US special forces. 4 commanders. That means it's possible that hundreds of people were killed. Now, some videos have already come out showing the situation from the perspective of American infrared imaging. Basically, any small shadow or faint light that looked like a person was targeted and taken out one by one. As for confirmed casualties on the ground, 9 Basiji militiamen, who are subordinate to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, were killed. Also, 2 American helicopters, the ones that were deployed from the Hercules aircraft, were hit and the crew members were injured, but no Americans were killed. And then there was also an aircraft responsible for providing air cover. It was an airborne gunship, specifically the A-10 Warthog attack aircraft. It was hit. After being hit, it managed to fly back to Kuwait, but then crashed. When it crashed, the airport personnel and the crew were all successfully rescued. So the US military, since he had already sent out a signal, set up a 3-kilometer radius perimeter around this colonel. Anyone who came within 3 kilometers was to be killed without exception. That's how it was. During this process, they went in again to rescue him. The CIA also launched what they called an information deception operation, spreading rumors among the local Iranians that the pilot had already been rescued and was moving toward the coast, planning to leave from there. As a result, the Iranian military was lured toward the coast. The New York Times also, what was it called again? Yeah, the New York Times also published it.
Maybe the New York Times did it on purpose.
I don't think so. I don't think they would cooperate with Trump. Trump really managed to fool them.
Yeah.
So the New York Times really did publish that front page article, and as a result, the Iranian military rushed over there, which diverted their attention.
A diversion tactic.
Right, it was to lure the Iranian military to the wrong location. At the same time, the US military also carried out an airstrike on a nearby city, which was the main broadcasting station. They destroyed it to cut off communications, leaving the Iranians in the dark. In the end, they found the weapons depot and withdrew all the troops. But just as they were about to take off on the C-130, they discovered a problem. The wheel got stuck in the sand and couldn't get out. That's right, because it's extremely heavy. You know, a plane weighing dozens of tons. Once it gets stuck, you can't lift it out. There's no crane, and how could you even fly a crane in? In the end, Trump gave the order on the spot to send in 3 more planes. 3 different planes, right? This time, they made sure not to repeat the same mistake. They couldn't let them get stuck in the sand again, so they put the people onto these other 3 planes. As for the E-30, whatever equipment was on it, they blew it all up. You know,
They blew it up.
They blew up everything. Yes. Why? Because the E-30 had encrypted communication equipment and an IFF system, identification friend or foe, which is extremely important. There was also a data link system and electronic warfare equipment. They blew everything to pieces, you know.
Right.
All was destroyed.
They couldn't leave it for them. Actually, I think I can talk a bit about the terrain there. It really is extremely rugged. It's like there are jagged ridges over 7,000 feet high, deep, and extremely rocky valleys, loose shale slopes, and extremely harsh high-altitude terrain. So it's really a very harsh environment there. Just imagine, the crew had to survive there for 2 whole days, and they couldn't be discovered. In the end, being found like that was really, it was extremely, very, very difficult, right?
Has anyone seen a movie from 2001 called Behind Enemy Lines? I know, I've shown it to you before. I've watched it 20 times. When I have nothing to do, I just go on YouTube and watch it.
Yeah, Fang Wei just loves watching war movies like that.
It's really similar to this, you know.
Right.
Yesterday, I already posted it on my X account, but then I thought, oh no, what if Hollywood comes after me for copyright issues? That wouldn't be appropriate, so I deleted it.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen it? It's called Behind Enemy Lines. If you've seen this movie, leave a comment, okay? So, what happened next? All right, let's keep going. Well, in the end, the sand clogged everything up, right? They had to switch planes, and basically, a helicopter was blown up. 2 C-130s were completely destroyed, and the A-10 Warthog attack aircraft I mentioned earlier also crashed. All in all, the total loss exceeded $300 million. And then they flew out of there. So what happened after they flew out? Trump. So what happens next? Next, first of all, tomorrow at 1 p.m. Let me sum it up. This was the most complex battle and rescue operation since the outbreak of the war, and it far surpassed anything Hollywood could portray in its movies. It was the US Special Forces penetrating deep into enemy territory, fighting their way in and fighting their way out, right? So the risks involved here are really enormous. From a purely military logic perspective, it actually seems illogical. sacrificing the lives of millions and billions of dollars worth of equipment just to rescue one person. We'll talk more about this topic in a bit. So, what will be discussed tomorrow? First, at 1 o'clock, President Trump is very likely to provide more details. Okay, second, Trump is about to take action. Yesterday, Trump already tweeted that many Iranian military leaders, due to poor leadership and extreme irrationality, along with other targets, have now been eliminated in our large-scale strike against Tehran. So another group of Iranian military leaders has been eliminated, but who exactly are they? We haven't specified yet. That's the second point. Then third, Trump said that Tuesday will be Iran's power plant day and bridge day. He's going to take out the infrastructure, all the main power plants and all the bridges, so it's going to be an unprecedented spectacle. Then Trump started cursing, saying, "Open up that aisle straight for me, you lunatics, or get ready to live in hell. Mark my words."
So what Trump means is, if there's no agreement and the Strait of Hormuz isn't opened, he's going to strike.
He's going to attack.
He said,
Praise Allah. Trump even said, praise Allah. Do you know what that means? He put on this air of acting on behalf of heaven, like, I will be the one to unleash the fires of hell. But it's supposedly God's will, that's what he meant. So that's our situation. Next, I'd like to discuss something with everyone. Is that okay? Let me see what our audience friends are saying. So much English. What's going on here? Human life is truly beyond any price. Black Sox Bobo says, life is absolutely priceless. The United States refused to leave any of their brave soldiers behind in order to ensure they were successfully rescued, and they even went so far as to deliberately destroy every single aircraft that they simply couldn't take back home with them. Well done. Oh, no. When I move my mouse over it, it turns into Chinese, okay?
oh, right, mine is turning into...
Yeah, it's strange.
Oh, I see.
Let's talk about it. So now, this is the issue. Now that the rescue is over, do you know what the biggest focus in the world is? I'm looking at X right now. Right now, X is the #1 news platform. You've said that many times already. So what does X tell me? The biggest focus in the world is, why did the United States move mountains and seas just for one person? This is our topic for today, moving mountains and seas just for one person. In English, it's called move mountains and seas. To save just one person, yeah. Isn't this the story that inspired Saving Private Ryan? Right, back then it was a small squad. How many people? 9 went out, right? In the end, all of them died, all of them. Only one person was left, just one plus Ryan.
Yeah.
That's the story of Saving Private Ryan during World War II.
Yes.
This is basically a modern reenactment of Saving Private Ryan. This time they sent hundreds of people deep behind enemy lines.
Yeah. I actually noticed that they mentioned their specialized rescue team is officially referred to as the Combat Search and Rescue Team.
Right.
Their noble and selfless motto is so that others may live. Truly, they dedicate themselves so that others may live.
Self-sacrifice for others.
Self-sacrifice for...
Right, so let me repeat. Billions of dollars worth of equipment, a combat team of a few hundred people, just 200, and in the end, nearly $400 million worth of equipment, 2 C-130s, 1 helicopter, 1 A-10, all crashed or destroyed, all of it. That's what happened. And then let me tell you, the media interviewed this person. The former commander of the Central Command, Brad Cooper, his predecessor actually, his name is Frank McKenzie. Look at what he said. He said that to build a plane, he was talking about the C-130 Hercules at the time, it takes a year to build such a plane. But it takes 200 years to establish a tradition in the military of never abandoning any of your own. How does everyone feel about that? When he said that, how did everyone feel?
Yeah, so this American tradition hasn't been lost.
Exactly. I think there are very few armies in the world like this.
Yeah, which other country is like this?
Right, and then Louis said that this rescue operation will definitely be made into a Hollywood blockbuster. I have an influencer friend named Wen Zhao, and he said it definitely won't happen because Hollywood really dislikes Trump.
Well, maybe not now.
Or maybe just don't let Hollywood make it.
Or later.
Exactly, Lily said it. Would anti-Trump Hollywood actually make it? Can we find a filmmaker who isn't from Hollywood to make it? Because it's just too...
amazing.
Right? I think you don't even need a script. Just do all the interviews and start filming. And
it
would be a film with a very low budget.
Fast, like a documentary.
Doc.
Yeah.
So really, this is America. Let me tell everyone a bit about how America is people-oriented. From the time of Saving Private Ryan all the way to today, saving this colonel, and then to the spirit of the American military. So honestly, you know how I feel today. I went to see Shen Yun today. I went to see Shen Yun today at Lincoln Center in New York, New York's top performing arts center. You know, when I was watching that performance there, it truly felt like the kind of enjoyment you'd get from a Royal Troops show. That elegance, that gracefulness. And as you sit there, you just feel, I'm in one of the safest countries in the world. I know that the soldiers of this country are here to protect it. It is unbreakable. And why is it unbreakable? It's because of this so-called enduring spirit. It's the spirit embodied by individuals, the cohesion of the military spirit. It's precisely because this military is unbreakable, because this spirit is unbreakable, that the military becomes unbreakable, and then the nation becomes unbreakable. And within this security, in this country, only by witnessing such a scene can we experience that feeling. You know, that feeling, the happiest kind of feeling, like when it's stormy outside, but you're sitting by the fireplace drinking wine. It's like when it's snowy or stormy outside. It's that kind of contrast. Only then do you truly realize how precious freedom is. Otherwise, without such a rescue operation, without watching for a whole day and night, I wouldn't have cherished it so much. This opportunity to watch Shen Yun,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes,
Can everyone understand the feeling I'm talking about?
exactly. You see, for rescue teams like this, they believe that no matter how harsh the environment is, no matter where the colonel is sent, even if it's into some corner or crevice in the rocks, they will stop at nothing to bring him back. It's this kind of spirit. It's not about saying, oh, we've spent $400 million on this equipment and now we've lost so much equipment, so just let it go. All of that is nothing, right? It's all for the sake of one person's life. So living in a country like this, right? These people, they do it for our freedom, right? They take risks. And actually, for example, I've seen some interviews with soldiers, with veterans, and in those interviews, they said, some people might ask, aren't you taking too big a risk? But they said, we were prepared for this. When we enlisted, we were already prepared for this, right? Freedom isn't free. Yes, so they were ready for it, but they also know that they have each other's backs, meaning that behind them there will definitely be someone there for them, right? The people of this country will not abandon them. If something happens to them, the country will do everything possible to bring them back. That's what makes it truly unbreakable, isn't it? And indeed, I think what Fang Wei said is true. The freedom we enjoy really, many times we just forget about this and take living this kind of life for granted.
We really do take it for granted. But America truly is a country that values people above all and cherishes life. Here, people come first. Property and everything else really are considered secondary. What's the saying? Not just treating money as dirt, but treating all material things as unimportant compared to people.
People are our most precious asset.
So let's take a look what our audience friends have to say. Jenny says, what's going on here? Yeah, people are priceless. America will spare no effort to rescue its own soldiers. That's why this country is worth everyone fighting for. Yes, that's right. It's all about reciprocation, isn't it? If you do something for me, I'll do something meaningful for you, right? That's just how it is. So because of this, those who join the military carry a sense of honor and a readiness to sacrifice because I want to do this for my fellow citizens, right? For this country. So this is America, what you might call the warrior spirit. America's strength, as everyone knows, comes from its inner qualities. It's not just about what weapons it has or things like that. Of course, those are important, but the most important thing is this inner spirit. There are very few countries in the world like this. Aside from Israel, I don't think there's a second country like it. Yes, that is absolutely correct. Rosemary mentioned earlier that she feels incredibly happy and content. She truly believes that America is just an amazing place to be. That was exactly what she told me just a moment ago. Oh, Black Sox Bobo reminds me of that old song, which means, for you, I would travel thousands of miles. And during this Easter, it's especially uplifting. Yes, it really is very unique. That's why Easter is such a great time. As Ji Yunshuan said, Fang Wei's passion is boiling over, and my eyes are truly filled with tears. I'm incredibly moved. It's really like a real-life contemporary version of Saving Private Ryan. Isn't it true that nothing else matters? In that movie, Saving Private Ryan, everyone remembers the ending. Isn't that right? That kind of feeling, you really can't help but shed tears. When the soldier grows old and stands in front of the grave, he remembers that captain, that lieutenant at the time. So it really is like a first love. Amazing. Now let's move on to the next topic. Meanwhile, now looking at our screen, there shouldn't be any issues. The Chinese Communist Party's anti-American propaganda has made the strongest contrast. Yesterday, the news was filled with repeated reports claiming that the US military tried to bomb and kill its own pilots. And it's not just one media outlet. Let me show you. If you look at this, you might think it's just the Beijing news. Sorry, just a moment. Should I remove Hercules? Look at what it says below at sources. Sources.
Which sources?
Sources say the US military tried to bomb and kill the pilot who went missing in Iran, and so on and so forth. This is another one. This is from CNR, China National Radio. Let me show you. It's all over the screen, all this messy stuff everywhere.
So what does everyone think about this?
Yeah, what are everyone's comments or thoughts? Yeah, truly amazing.
Only a regime like this could come up with this kind of explanation, or rather this way of misleading people.
Anyway, yeah, so I really think that what they are saying is quite obviously fake. Don't you agree?
Of course it's fake.
But
they still want to slander the US, you see. Yeah, but
I also think what they're saying is true.
But
why? Because in situations like this, the CCP would do this
kind of thing.
So now I'm not even talking about them lying anymore. Lying has already become normalized, right? The CCP tells blatant lies and even profits from it. The key is when they tell such outrageous lies. Do you remember back in 2001, there was that Hainan Island collision incident, the South China Sea plane collision? It was when a US EP-3 reconnaissance plane was hit by a Chinese pilot, Wang Wei, flying one of the CCP's, some kind of surveillance aircraft, crashed into it. Yeah, and as a result, he crashed into the sea. He ejected, and he even had a lifebuoy on him. And then what happened? Of course, the EP-3 was later forced to land on Hainan Island, and the CCP completely dismantled it. After taking it apart, they finally returned it to the US. As for Wang Wei, he was said to have sacrificed himself. Yeah, do you remember how everyone analyzed it at the time and thought it was basically impossible for him to have died, right? Because he crashed into the sea right at China's doorstep, the US wasn't attacking him, and they weren't at war. Plus, after he crashed, he successfully ejected and even deployed a colored lifebuoy. There were both communication methods and a lifebuoy, but in the end, Jiang Zemin said he died, called it a sacrifice, because the CCP needed him to be a martyr. Of course, whether he was secretly rescued and then given a new identity to do something else, or if they silenced him on the spot and actually killed him,
well, we just don't know.
Both are possible, right?
Sai, but now that you mention it, it reminds me of the GE Phase 2 project you've been talking about with them, right? Some of those military industry experts in China, some of them have disappeared and some are said to have passed away. Isn't that so? Yeah, exactly. You see, under the rule of the CCP in China, even though they're not on the front lines, if something they design doesn't work out so well, they might just disappear. So when they slander the United States like this, maybe they really think that's what they should do.
Everyone leave a comment, okay? What do you all think? The CCP is always talking like this everywhere, but today they've been completely proven wrong. Of course, they always find a way to justify themselves. I just want to make a conclusion here. Not really a conclusion, but to share my own view. One is a true people's government that cherishes the life of every single soldier. The other is an evil regime that claims to be a people's government but constantly tramples on the lives of its people. Isn't that a fair way to put it?
Yes.
What do you all think? Am I right in what I said?
That's also very accurate. I remember I once interviewed someone, an elderly gentleman. When he was 27, he was imprisoned by the Chinese Communist Party during the Cultural Revolution. He didn't get out until he was 47. 20 years. Those were the prime years of his life. The most brilliant 20 years, all lost because of this. I think he even participated in the Korean War. He said the CCP built everything with human flesh. Piled up with human flesh?
Everything is sacrificed for the party's interests. It doesn't matter who gets sacrificed.
Yeah.
That's the CCP for you, but the key thing is they still talk so nicely. I once read a piece of literature from Eastern Europe by a writer there. He said that the Communist Party is different from all the tyrants in history. You know, all tyrants, usually tyrants just treat you brutally, right? At least with them, what you see is what you get. They're cruel both in words and actions. But he said the Communist Party is the only one that will break your legs, force you to kneel on the ground, and still make you put a smile on your face. This is just how evil this regime is. There's an old saying, they not only say all the nice things, but also do all the worst things. Most tyrants are at least consistent inside and out. Even if they're bad through and through. At least that's what you call a true villain, right? So this is a particular characteristic of the Chinese Communist Party.